After deciding to enter my first game jam,
More than 22,000 people signed up.
and only having 48 hours to make a game, I was pretty proud of what I'd made. Mark Brown, the genius behind the GMTK YouTube channel, played my game and actually enjoyed it.
Springs. Oh my gosh. Boy, does that look juicy as heck. This is so juicy. 4 is fine. And then 4 again. Hey.
Well, at least he enjoyed how it looked.
Oh god, this is unfortunately just a little bit. I can't see the other side of my dice. I can't see the other side of my dice. I can't see the other side of my dice. This is what I'm trying to avoid with my very slowly developing memory. There's more to life than beauty, as I will tell you.
And although Master Mark hurt my feelings, there was nothing but truth in the criticisms he gave. But let's back it up a little to see where I went right and wrong to achieve some excellent results. It all started on day 1 where I encountered my first mistake. You see, I was all alone on a Friday night. As I was surfing YouTube, I somehow came across a video about the jam starting and thought,
I don't have anything better to do.
but then I realized the jam had started 4 hours ago. So right off the bat, I had already lost hours of precious time. But at this point, it didn't bother me that much because I still had a good 44 hours left. Now, the next logical move would have been to brainstorm a list of ideas. But my brain decided to write down one idea and then continue to plan a multi-page romantic visual novel about a blue dice and a pink dice who are in love, and one day the pink dice goes missing and the blue dice has to find her, and I'd narrate it like,
There once was a time when 2 dice, Bluey and Pinky, were in love.
kind of like that Stanley's Parable game, and there'd be axes swinging, ice sliding environments and cutscenes. And just like that, another 4 hours had passed. I hadn't started on a game, I still had 0 friends, and I had one idea that was going to take me 3 years to make. It was getting rough, but I needed to start some type of game before I went to bed. So I decided to throw that idea in the trash and start working on the first simple idea that came to my mind: a logic puzzle. I quickly threw together a 3D model of a dice. Then I implemented some simple movement, and after a couple hours and weirdness, I finally had something that I was pleased with. The dice movement felt snappy, and I did some trickery with the camera to make it feel smooth. At this point, it was getting late and it was time to pass out. The next day arrived and I was way behind, so I decided to implement the necessities. What happens when the dice falls? They have to respawn. What happens if the dice gets to the finish line? The previous level disappears and the next level appears. Now it was time to make the game more fun. I started with the spring mechanic, where it launched the player the same amount that they landed on it, and the challenge is to orient the dice so it lands on the amount you need. After that, it was time to make the game juicy. The first part was figuring out the feel I wanted the game to have. Was it going to be a Doom heavy metal action type? No, I wanted more of a Dwarf romantic, relaxing puzzle game type. After I decided the feel, I found areas of the game that clearly needed work, so I programmed each tile to animate based off of how far away they were from the starting tile, creating this satisfying effect when you finished a level. I also made the dice jump to give it a tad more personality, and after that I spent hours on the color palette, and ultimately decided to use a color palette that made it crystal clear who the player was and what the objective was. The skybox also needed to change, and I went through a couple color variations, but ended up landing on a neutral sky so that it was still crystal clear what the important elements were. Now that I had the visuals nailed, it was time for juice factor number 2, probably the most important part and the easiest overlooked: layers and layers of sound. Trying to create a calm feeling? Start with some ambient sound of the ocean and birds calling. Then add noise to the visually important parts of the game. Make sure to add noise when the player takes actions, and create a positive feeling when the player overcomes a challenge. At this point, I was going crazy. Here's me showing off my neck beard, and as you can see here, the sun was rising. I hadn't slept yet, which was probably not a good idea, but I didn't have much time left until the deadline. And although the game was juicy, it was missing something important. It wasn't that fun. So with the last couple of hours, it was time to take the game to the next level: hot air balloons. I quickly modeled some cute looking balloons and made a helmet slot so it'd pick up the dice and float it based off of what number was on the top side. I made some more levels utilizing the new hot air balloon mechanic and mixed it up with the springs I had made earlier. About an hour before the deadline, I packaged the game up and submitted it. I was about delusional at this point, and I'm pretty sure I just worked for 30 hours straight, but I freaking did it, baby. I did it. And after a week of nervously waiting for results, they had finally come in. Out of over 6,000 games, I got 65th for presentation, 151st for enjoyment, and 488th for creativity, placing me at 130th overall. Although I could have done better in the creativity department with a better idea, I'm still damn happy about it considering it was my first jam. I was a solo dev, and most importantly, I had made tons of mistakes, but I kept pushing through. Oh yeah, and Mark Brown was right. It looked juicy, but there were definitely problems with the game. Anyways, love you. Peace.